Hi guys, I am Nobu Kumalo, and if it's the first time here, welcome to my channel. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed as yet, please click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that each time I upload a video, you'll be notified. Just a disclaimer, as you can see our background, we are recording this outside and we're on holiday. There's a lot of noise that we can't control, so please bear with us if there's noise. But I hope you guys will be able to hear through the noise. So, like I said earlier, we are on holiday. This is my husband, by the way. We're on holiday, and as one of the dinners, I think it was 2 nights ago, we were speaking about conversations generally as couples, and how sometimes it's difficult to have conversations about like taboo topics that are innately personal in nature, that hit right in the spot where someone is standing. So I think I'll let him explain because he's the one like who has the background. Yeah, go ahead.
You might hear some volleyball people celebrating from time to time. This guy is playing volleyball. We don't know how audible it is. Anyway, so a couple of days ago I was listening to a podcast that I like, but so these guys talk about relationships and stuff. And so in this particular episode, they were talking about not having children and communicating that. So somebody had asked them a question like, how do you communicate to your parents and relatives that you don't want to have kids, since a lot of these people have expectations around kids for you. So anyway, the lady was talking about how she always thought she was going to have kids. Like, it has never been a consideration to her. It was like when you
you're
get
born,
married,
you go to school, you get married,
you have kids. It was like she had never thought about it because it's just what happens, right? It's sort of like going to school, right? Or going to university. Most of us didn't think about going to university, right? If we graduated high school and our grades were fine and the money was there, we would go to university. So anyway, and the guy was saying that he doesn't want to have kids, right? I don't know if I can't remember if he's always felt that way or it's something that came on later. But at the time when they got married, he was sure he didn't want to have kids.
Yeah.
And so he was saying, when they were having the conversation, the lady says, one thing I value about you is you are very good with taboo subjects, right? Those subjects where if you say them, society would come out with pitchforks to you and like, how could you say something like that? But you are able to just say it out. And she was saying this in relation to a time when they were talking about this having kids thing, and the guy said to her, you know what, I like being your number one, and I don't want to have to share you with a child. Okay. Right?
That's very honest.
It's one of those things that is like, hey, you're jealous of a kid. Like, how could you say that? And you may tell me that no, I'll be able to, give you both attention and whatever. But once you have a child, nature is going to ensure that all your attention goes to the child, right? And I mean, research shows this that self-reported happiness goes down when people have children. So anyway, off of that, I then started thinking about, this taboo subjects thing, right? And that, a lot of times when we talk around relationships, we talk about have the ability to have hard conversations, right? But I think these hard conversations can be further classified into normal hard conversations and like taboo hard conversations. And like how this classification happens is there are difficult conversations that are objective. Right? Yeah. So like around money, if money is a personal thing, right? Yeah. And it's touchy, but there are objectively correct ways to
like you can read something or watch something or get advice from someone who says, to grow your money you have to invest. You can't put under your mattress, and you can objectively agree that this actually makes sense.
Yeah. So even when you get to a point where we've got like two options, usually those two options are both objectively right. Like for example, some people mix their finances and some keep them separate. Like those two are objectively right in their own way. They have advantages and disadvantages, but it's objective, right? But there are some difficult conversations that are fundamentally personal and fundamentally subjective. So an example of this is sex, right? Sex, and like, I don't mean like sex as a general thing. I mean like talking about our specific sexual life, the details of it, right? It's fundamentally personal because we're talking about what I do and what you do, right? And sometimes a lot of us feel insecure or some type of way around that, right? Because it feels like you're being judged or something, right? There's an element of it being a touchy subject. And number two, it's fundamentally subjective because there is no correct way of having sex, right?
It boils down to the two people
to the two people involved in the thing, right?
And so what I'm picking up is that there are certain difficult conversations that are somewhat easier to have because there's logical, well-reasoned explanations and solutions for it. And then
if you reach an impasse, you can lean on someone else's
because it's logical and objective. And then there's another class of difficult conversations which are subjective and emotional and personal, which cannot be explained logically, or which cannot be explained with an outline plan of 1 + 1 = 2 because of all the nuances around them. And because of how subjective and emotional they are, naturally as human beings, when you feel like someone is saying you're not measuring up to the standard that they would like you to measure up to, our default response is to be defensive, right? Try to show all the ways that we are measuring up to it. And so you get to this point where this one person who wants to say something can't say something because maybe historically or because they think so. They think you're going to turn around and be defensive and point out all the ways in which you are right. You as the person who's being, addressed, you are right, and end up turning it around and making them feel bad for even voicing how they're feeling in the first place. And then there's also the person who's on the receiving end who they love you, they want to do what's best for you and all that, but because of our innate human nature of, fear, insecurities and all that, it kind of like puts blinkers all over us, and we fail to hear what the person is saying, but we take things as an attack, and because of that, we become closed off to receiving or hearing what our partner is feeling.
Yeah, true. If you think about it, we all have those things that are touchy and that are not, they are not kosher, they're not cleaned up to say in society. But we feel them, we experience them, we hold those opinions. And if I can't say it to my partner, there's a chance that there's somebody out there that I can say it to. And sometimes you have a situation where the person I am with is different from the person I am when I'm with the guys.
When you're with the guys where there's no guards and you're completely free, no filters.
And those taboo opinions that I have, I can say them freely with the guys. But when I come home, I can't say them with you because of fear of judgment, right? And maybe when you look at it like this with my friends and with you, it doesn't seem like a big thing, right? But the problem is that it takes away a level of intimacy that I could be sharing with you and I can no longer share with you. And it even gets worse because sometimes life can put us in situations where there's somebody else of the opposite sex who is free around those things. So it may be a colleague at work that I work with, or somebody where the interaction, I can't get away from the interaction, right? I can't get away from the interaction, and that person is free to express those things. And the more freely they express themselves, eventually I'll also express myself freely. And now we have this shared intimacy with this person that does not exist in my relationship, right? And so that is part of why we should always seek ways to express these things so that we are fully open books to each other, right? You fully understand me, right? And I fully understand you. Have you ever had a situation where we're in a group discussion, right? And I express an opinion and you're like, I never knew this guy thinks this thing, right? Yeah, and everyone knows because I've been able to express it, but I can't express it around you, right?
Yeah, and the sad thing about shying away from taboo topics is that they never really go away. Like you're saying, because it's something that fundamentally matters to this person, they're going to try and find an outlet somewhere else, not because they intentionally went seeking for someone else to share with, especially someone of the opposite sex, but because life, the
There's a
devil, all
tension
those
that
things,
wants
the
to
tension
release.
that needs to be released, and it so happens that it gets released to someone else. And also, I believe even within the relationship, slowly but surely, there's this like distance that begins to form because of this like elephant in the room that
I
no
can't
one
be free
is,
to
can't
this
be free
person.
to be this person. So I think a lot of it boils down to you as a person being a safe space for your other person, right? It's important for your partner to feel that they can trust you with their deepest, craziest, unorthodox feelings, and that they can come to you with those without feeling like you will make them feel less than or dirty or judge them or think less of them because they've shared with you. Because ultimately, your partner is supposed to be that person who, the two become one. You're supposed to know your partner is supposed to know you in and out, flaws and all, and still accept you. So are you being a safe space for your partner?
And this can show up in like really small things, right? So when I bring up a thing, I was the sort of person who will say, how could you even think that, right? Because that is going to be a cue to the other person that maybe there are subjects that I can't bring up with this person, right? So be careful of giving those cues like that, where you are saying there are things we can talk about and there are things that are, out of line. Because your perspective of what's out of line and what's not may not be the same with me. And now we're limiting our level of connection because you've blocked certain things.
And I think the flip side of being a safe space is that the other person on the other side of the table needs to allow themselves to be vulnerable to you, right? The saying that I've seen that I've read somewhere that says vulnerability is trusting. That says vulnerability is giving the person all the tools and the ability to hurt you, but trusting that they won't do it. And I think until you reach a level of vulnerability where you're completely and fully cards on the table open with your person, you will not be able to experience full intimacy, right? And rightfully so. Like, there is stuff that you could tell someone and they could literally use it against you one day, but you need to trust the fact that this person loves me, has my best interest, and I've chosen to share life with them, and I need to trust them with this thing that I'm about to say, and hope that even if their initial reaction is a bit weird, even if they're shocked or they can't believe this, but because we love each other, because we're trying to build together and not destroy, we're going to find a way around and come right. But I think these are like the superficial safe spaces, vulnerability things, but like practically, how do we have those difficult conversations? Because how and when and where you say something is just as, if not more important than what you say.
There's an article I wrote recently in my newsletter that was talking about having difficult conversations, right? And I think as part of that article, I mentioned that one way of doing this, because it can be difficult to start these subjects, right? Maybe you're open to it after this or in general, and you want to start with your partner, but it's hard. How do I bring up this thing, right? And it was suggesting that one good way of doing it is to listen or watch things where other people are talking about that thing or experiencing that difficult thing, and watch those things together with your partner, because you can then use that as a pivot for your own conversation about it, right? You can say, so what do you think about this, or how would you feel if I, or stuff like that, and you are using that conversation to pivot so that you can talk about your own thing.
And that's a very good one, because you get cues, right, about generally what this person thinks. Granted, I think there's like margin for error, because I think as humans we're a lot more judgy because of self-preservation and looking a certain way. We might not receive it as best as we would if it was someone that we love and care about who is faced with the same thing, right? We might be a lot more judgy and Cindy has left me, but you get the point, like.
But like
something like I'm not saying it's always the case, but I'm saying there is a margin also for a lot more benefit of the doubt, or whatever to call it, when it's someone we love.
I get that, and I think this is a call for like both people to be involved in doing this, right? Because if you just passively respond to stuff and get more judgmental about other people, you might not know, but you might unwillingly be giving cues to your partner that they can't speak freely to you, right?
Yeah.
So try to be a person with integrity. Be the same person, right, with all circumstances. So if you wouldn't be judgmental of that thing in your own relationship, don't be judgmental on the other people, right? So
Good point.
have integrity, right? And if you do have integrity and respond as openly as you would in your own thing, you give your partner sort of a cue or the permission to say they can bring it to you and feel safe bringing it to you. But if you already block it there, I'm going to think, if she is this emotional about other people, what more if it's a personal subject?
Yeah, I think you make a good point. And I think another way is, like I'm saying, the when, the how, tact also, to try and create environment for such discussions. So like, I personally would not be willing or in the right mind to have a taboo discussion when I'm coming back from work and I'm having a terrible week at work, and I just have to sit down so that I breathe before I go back to my computer and you come to me and so like date night, go out for dates, go out on holiday, just create spaces, take a walk for example, just spaces where people's guards are down, where they don't feel like they have to multitask and deal with a lot of things in one go. And I feel when people are relaxed and their guard is down, they're generally more free and open to hear, and those who are sharing are more free to even share what they're feeling than if someone needs to like carve out 5 minutes for this conversation before going back to all the other things that demand their attention.
I think as a general thing, it's important to always give your partner the benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to always give your partner the benefit of the doubt, right? And always have the perspective that they are coming from a good place, whatever they are saying. Even if you think what they're saying, this is such a disgusting thing that is so disgusting. Why would you, right? Give them the benefit of the doubt that this is coming from a good place,
Yeah.
right? Because if you are not able to give them the benefit of the doubt, it will be difficult for you to not lay judgment on first mention of the thing.
Great. I think this was fun. I think we can wrap it up here. Just let us know in the comment section what topics have been hard for you to discuss with not just your partner, your parent, your child. How have you navigated that? Are there certain topics that you wish society was a lot more open to talking about? And I must say that if you're still here at this point, thank you so much, because you staying here is something that for this long is something that YouTube will pick up, and because you've stayed, they will recommend my video to a lot more people. So thank you so much for staying. But otherwise, please like the video, engage in the comment section, share the video, and if you're still not subscribed at this point, come on, just do the right thing and subscribe. But otherwise, thank you for sticking around. I'll see you guys again next time. Goodbye.